Hi, I'm Kristin Capps. I'm here with Architect Magazine, and I'd like to introduce you to our panel today on social media and the small firm. This is Jane Frederick. She is the chair of the Small Firm Roundtable and a practicing architect in South Carolina off the coast. We also have Bud Deitrich. Bud is an architect based in the Tampa area. He is on the steering committee of the Custom Residential Architects Network, and he writes for Houzz, which is Houzz. Let me start with a question for Jane. What are your top 3 social networking tools that you use?
Well, I do residential architecture also, and you just mentioned the top one, which was Houzz, Houzz. If you do residential architecture and are not familiar with it, you need to be on it. It's a huge database of pictures of houses, interiors, and clients, homeowners, go to it every day looking for information. They have, I think they said 4 million visitors a day to that site. I've gotten jobs. I'm in South Carolina, and I've gotten jobs in Texas from people finding me on Houzz. So that's my number one place for social media. That I use to get clients. Other places I go to Twitter to share information with other architects. That's how I met Bud, through Twitter, and have worked together on some ideas through Twitter. So I think that's a really valuable tool for researching, to keeping up with dates, new products that are out there, and articles that are being written that are interesting. And see, the third one I would probably say is Facebook, just to share projects in progress that you're not quite ready to put on your web page yet.
But I'll ask you a follow-up question. I know at Architect Magazine we use Twitter quite a lot, and the sheer amount of information you can see every single day can be kind of staggering. How do you control your kind of information flow?
You know, I just refer to it every once in a while through the course of a day, and if I see something that I think is going to be interesting to the people at other than myself, I'll retweet it. Sometimes I'll if I listen to something like yesterday in the keynote speech from David McCullough, I tweeted out a message about what he said. Scully said that architects filled with light. I thought that was a great little phrase, and I tweeted that out. So it's like I just refer to it. I use my iPhone, and I just refer to it throughout the day.
Let me go back to Houzz. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
I think so.
It seems like it's obviously popular with residential architects, but can you talk a little bit about the benefit? Is there a financial benefit that you're seeing? Or what are the business benefits that really flow from using it?
New clients. But also you have the opportunity to interact with people on potential clients, or just the general public. Some of it is kind of funny what they ask you. I mean, people are always asking, where did you get that handrail? Or where did you get that detail? And it's a good means of educating people, the public, in that, that was custom designed. That was custom designed. That light fixture was custom designed. So it's showing the value of an architect. That I think so many of the home shows, people think that you can just go to Home Depot and buy a kit of parts, and that your house will look like an architect designed it.
And for me, I mean, Houzz is I've been writing for Houzz for about 9 months. I write maybe 10 or 12 articles a month for Houzz, and so financially I'm done a little bit that way. But I've also gotten clients through Houzz. I actually got a client to design a house in New Zealand. I mean, that's on a nice coastal site in New Zealand. So the reach of the site is quite vast. And as a writer on Houzz, I mean, I actually use even though this is the first time we've met face to face, I've actually used some of Jane's projects because they actually are really good photographs that tell a story about it, and I can take the story that the photograph is telling and use it in the article. Like I just got one published yesterday, and the article was about brick, and one of Jane's houses, she has these beautiful brick arches, so I could talk about how the brick wants to span and make an opening like that. And so it's a very useful tool for doing that, and more architects need to sort of get their stuff up there.
And we didn't mention it's free to load your pictures up there. So that's a real benefit for a small firm, is that you have this great marketing tool that you don't have to put an outlay of cash. I mean, it takes some time to upload your pictures, and then when you upload them, you want to make sure that you tag them, because that's how people find your rooms, because you tag them by room, by style, by location, by
and complete description. I think architects like to think that if we put a beautiful picture of something up on a screen, we're like, oh, this has got to be the most beautiful house in the world, and everybody's just going to fall over themselves because we see the beauty of it. But using keywords and really describing it and talking about it in text, because when the search engines go and search for things, or when I'm searching for something to write an article about, the things that are going to come up to the top of the searches are the ones with the complete descriptions, with the keywords, with all of that stuff. It's the ones with the most beautiful space, the most beautiful project will just not show up because there's no way for the search engine to find it.
What about voice? If you were giving advice to someone who maybe doesn't have a lot of experience using social media, how much voice would you tell them to use? You know what I mean? Personal, kind of familiar voice versus a more detached, here is my project, here is my information kind of style. Like, what do you think is appropriate?
I actually think the best way to connect with the people is make it personal, is to really have your personality come through, to connect with them on that level. And what I find is that the same issues that I have in my life and the things that I'm doing and stuff, that's not unique to just me. It's unique, there's millions of people who are dealing with those issues. And so the more personal I make it, the more connections I make with people.
Do you feel the same way?
Oh, I definitely agree.
Okay. Have you found any applications? We've talked a lot about House, and we talked a little bit about Twitter. What about some of the newer applications, or even some of the older ones? Do you find ways to use Foursquare or Pinterest, to name just a couple off the top of my head?
I have looked at those. I think Foursquare makes a difference of where you live geographically. I'm in a small town, so it's not that applicable there. Also, when you're a small firm, you really need to target where you spend your time and figure out what works for you. I think early on I explored more of them, and then I found that House really works, and Twitter and Facebook, so I've just stuck with those because that helps me manage my time doing social media.
And I'm looking at not so much like a new thing like a Pinterest or something, but how to actually integrate like Twitter with Facebook, with LinkedIn, with House, with other things, so that things like Deliver It or If Then Then That, all these other ones where you can actually put the information in once, or maybe schedule it, or do those kinds of things. I was learning a lot about those things yesterday, and I'm really going to pursue that because it's going to cut down on the time commitment a lot in terms of these things taking over your life.
One thing we didn't mention about that is how much it helps with clients, because your client can go to House or could go to Pinterest and create their books of what they like. So you get an idea of their thoughts, because quite often, I know all architects have had the problem where you're talking about, a client's talking about a style, and when you see what they're actually talking about, it's like, duh, I mean, why are you calling it that? So it's sharing some photographs when in that early stage. It's an easy way to do it electronically, and they can just email them to you or send you the link so you can get into their pages.
If you're really carefully managing your brand, your personal brand, your company brand, using social media, these kinds of tools, do you also still need to keep a website or a blog?
The website is the main thing you need to have. I think I'm out on social media to get people back to my website, so that there's, pictures out there and some descriptions, but there's a lot more meat on our website, talking about, we specialize in hot, humid climates, so we talk about what you do special for hot, humid climates on our website, and give valuable information there that we want to get people to.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's all of this is to really to drive people to your website or to my website, to Jane's website, because that's where, as Jane said, that's where the meat is. That's where I really talk about, why I would do something like this or why something like that. And on my website I talk about who they are. I like to address like who my potential client is, and that way they get a better feel for who I am that they can't get in the 140 characters.
Is there any tool you need specifically, something like on your phone, whether it's an iPhone or a Droid or something that really helps you tap into your other social media tools and applications?
Well, one thing I would say, it's more for your web page, is we changed recently. When we first had a web page, 12 years ago, we had an outside company do it, and you would have to contact them to just change one photograph, and it was very onerous. And we went to a WordPress format, and I can do it myself, so that makes it a lot more fresh data, a lot less expensive, and more up to date.
I agree, and I have Twitter on my phone, I have Facebook on my phone. I mean, I think again, going back to finding the right application that's going to integrate all of that stuff, so that it's going to cut down on a lot of the time that I have to spend on doing these things like deliver it, if then that, those kinds of things, so I can, which are available to on your mobile device, and use those as opposed to going to one, then going to another, then going to another.
Are mobile devices good enough to really sell a project or a product? Like, I mean, the kind of thing, the picture I take on my phone, is that enough to show to potential clients?
Absolutely. I have my portfolio on my iPhone, and I also have it on my iPad. So if I'm in a formal meeting, I know I'm going to meet with a client, I've got my portfolio right there on the and it's done. But I always walk around with my iPhone, and my portfolio is on there. So if I'm in a situation and people start talking about a specific sort of thing, I can just bring up a picture really fast and say, "Oh, is this what you were talking about?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about," or "No, not at all." But it's a way to start a conversation.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us today, Jane Frederick and Bud Deitrich.
Thank
you.
Real pleasure.
Enjoyed it.
Thanks.